Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. I gotta sit there and say, I actually liked this episode. I did. Start with Sonny. Sonny has been a very, very, very busy boy. He comes over Nina's office and he pretty much just starts laying out demands, pretty much. And honestly, to tell you the truth, in the beginning, it did seem like it was kind of hostile because, Nina was like, you telling me to get out of town? Because Sonny was like, well, I know you're here and everything like that, but, you may not like it around here for, too long. So there was a lot of innuendos as far as, like, threats and stuff like that, but pretty much he was just like, stay away from me, stay away from my family, and, everything would be peachy-peachy, pretty much. So as he was about to leave, Nina gave Sonny the watch that Phyllis left, and I understand what Phyllis is saying as far as like, oh, well, I didn't give it back to him because I didn't think it was going to be right or wrong. I didn't know if it was going to sit there and hurt him or anything like that. So why'd you bring it for? Like, why'd you bring it for? You bring it to Nina? Like, and that's kind of, I'm just tell you the truth. Now I'm thinking about it. Phyllis was like, Nina needs to give Sonny his space and his time to be with his family. But yet you gave her his watch to give to him when you were already at the house and you could have gave it to... Okay. Yeah, that made sense. But with that being said, after he got the watch, he started getting emotional and, he was there talking about forgiveness. And, he didn't sit there and say it was off the table. He was just like, for right now, I can't do it. Now, I know a couple people are going to be like, forgive? She practically kept you away from your family for 9 months. You sitting there talking about forgiveness? But the thing about forgiveness is that a lot of times you don't forgive them necessarily because you just flat out forgive them. You forgive them for yourself. A lot of that negative energy and baggage and everything like that, that stress is just... is not needed in your life. And, I've always, struggled a little bit to understand why some people will sit there and say that they forgive someone regardless of all the terrible, harmful, and just nasty things that they've done to someone. But a lot of times, people in my life have said that they've forgiven people for themselves. Still kind of a fickle concept for me as far as forgiving someone for yourself, but okay, I understand in Sonny's case. Now, one thing that was really interesting was when Nina was talking about timing, and, Nina was like, it was a good thing that you got back, home to stop whatever was going to happen or whatever. And that's when Sonny went back to that flashback, and I'm sitting there thinking, bro, when you first walked in your room, You didn't sense anything that was amiss? It took Nina to sit there and kind of jog your memory, but it did. He really thought about that time when he ran back in that room and he looked at Jason and Carly just really surprised, being that close to each other. And that's when he was like, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta be somewhere. And he goes back to his office and he sees Sonny. And, he sees Jason, removing the chair or swapping out chairs or whatever. And Jason was like, I just didn't feel comfortable in your chair. And that's when Sonny's like, yeah, we gotta talk about you and Carly. So I am so looking forward to that conversation tomorrow. Oh my goodness, I'm looking so forward to that conversation tomorrow. I think I'm actually going to get some cheese doodles. Yeah, this is a special occasion. I want to just fully immerse myself in that scene because, let's be honest, Jason and Carly have been way too close to each other as far as being married to Sonny and being that close to Jason. Hell, I think there was a couple of times that, Carly said that, she wouldn't even have married Jason as if it wasn't for Sonny. I mean, she wouldn't even have married Sonny if it wasn't for Jason. And granted, he shrugged that off a little bit because they usually arguing about something else, but I would have been like, I'm sorry, what? So, yeah, that conversation definitely needs to happen tomorrow. And right after that, he needs to talk to Carly. But to be fair, I know he didn't have, he didn't have his memories or anything like that, but, he did some stuff with Nina, and I feel like, if he was going to give the smoke to Carly, he needs to be honest, so that way Carly can sit there and give it right back, and it can kind of somewhat even. Yeah. Let's talk about Brooklyn for a minute. Oh, Brooklyn. It's times like this, and I'm just like, this is why I don't like you sometimes. When you pull things like this is exactly why I don't like you at times. So, Brooklyn pretends to bump into Britt, and she pretty much tells Britt that she makes some sort of BS story, and she practically tells Britt that Austin violated HIPAA laws. Now, as far as diagnosing Leo as far as having autism, breaking HIPAA's rules, and I'm sitting there thinking, I guess the writers just thought that they could just snap their fingers and just have us totally forget about the whole Willow court scene and how they just said, yeah, HIPAA laws, that really doesn't matter. Just complete when sometimes I see people write comments and stuff like that, I always sit there and say, this is what happens when you have plot over everything else. When you have plot over logic and common sense, we have plot over things like laws and HIPAA laws. This is what I mean. Now HIPAA is important. Now HIPAA works in your favor because, you want to get Austin in trouble. But, with the whole Willow thing, it was like, what's HIPAA? Nice, GH, real nice. So she practically tells, Britt that Austin violated, HIPAA laws as far as telling her and stuff like that. Now, Britt saw that coming and she was like, yeah, I get it. Austin and the whole legal battle of the, shares and stuff like that, and this is why you're coming at me like this. Yeah, no, I saw that. So she called her out on what she did, but the problem is that regardless of what Brooklyn's motive was, he did violate HIPAA laws. So eventually, towards the end of the episode, she does want to call in Austin to sit there and kind of start to discuss, like, yo, listen, you're the problem. And she's going to start to lay down the groundwork as far as, like, you violated HIPAA laws and everything like that. I mean, I saw in the previews, Austin was like, I want a lawyer, so, yeah. I'm like, damn, Brooklyn? You're going to sit there and get this man fired? Like, you're going to get him fired because, he's trying to get, like, shares of EOQ. So your response is, I'm going to get this man fired. I'm going to get his whole career just gone because he's getting in the way of my plans. I'm like, you're one petty, vindictive ass. Wow. And of course, Olivia over here is dead, and she gets upset with Brooklyn because she feels that Brooklyn is using Leo as a pawn. Now, Brooklyn does say, regardless of whatever, there's a good chance that he may have autism or just to look into it. But, Olivia being Olivia, she just goes into that mode that I just really can't stand. Like, really can't stand. Olivia has actually been on this show for quite a long time. Crazy little side story, not really funny, but I guess sort of funny. When I was moving my stuff in, I still had my VCR. And I still had my VCR tapes. Before I had a DVR, you know, I used to sit there and record, you know, like the episodes on, you know, my VCR or whatever. And I was sitting there popping in like different videos or whatever to see what would play and what wouldn't. And like, you know, I saw the whole, well, not the whole episode of GH, but like this really old episode of GH where, what was her name? Claudia Zacchara was sitting there talking to Olivia. And I was like, wow, this is going way back. Way back. And in that episode, Laura Wright was in there. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Laura Wright has been on this show for such a long time. Back when I used to actually have a VCR. And Olivia. So, yeah, it sort of does pertain to this review and sort of doesn't, but... So, yeah, she gets into this whole mode, and she's all, like, you know, getting all defensive the minute, you know, somebody talks about, you know, autism and stuff like that. Now, granted, you know, she's a moron. Granted, when she was sitting there talking to Carly, first of all, it felt like she was sitting there trying to tell Carly to go for revenge, you know, like, yeah, you should do it, you should get your pound of flesh, you should totally do it. Yeah, do it. Like, the hell are you doing? You would sit there and think if I had like a friend or someone, you know, like, I don't know, a coworker, I wouldn't want them to sit there and tell me, like, you know, influencing me to, yeah, you should totally get revenge on them. Yeah, you're not going to just let them ride you dirty like that, right? The whole time I'm just like, Olivia, what the hell are you doing? But, you know, Carly was like, you know, listen, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to have Nina be a martyr, a victim, or anything like that. She's already playing the victim card. And let's be honest, most of the people, you know, that knows about this whole thing is, for the most part, kind of letting it slide. So she's like, I'm not going to do that. And when she leaves, and by the way, when she was there, you know, Leo a couple of times was just like, you know, this desk is a mess. And I get that children don't have filters or anything like that, but I'm kind of just like, Olivia, you want to... Never mind. Never mind, Olivia. Ava comes in there. And, let me let me back up before she gets there. So she talks to Scott. And long story short, you know, she finds out that Nina knew. Well, not only did Nina knew about you know, Sonny being alive and practically keeping him away from his family, and by extension, her daughter. But, you know, she remembered the conversation when she was sitting there talking to Nina. You know, because Scott brought up Mike or whatever. And that's when she was like, oh, okay, really? Now, before then, you know, when Scott was sitting there talking about what Nina's actions and stuff like that, like what she did as far as Sonny, you know, getting revenge on Carly, you know, Ava was like, oh, well, you know, Carly could sit there and drive anyone crazy enough to do any sort of thing. Now I'm sitting there thinking, Ava, are you going to give her a bit of smoke for the fact that not only did Nina keep Sonny away from Carly and her children, but your child as well? Like, she didn't say anything. She didn't seem like she was really getting that upset until, you know, she remembered the whole Mike thing. So I'm just hoping that, you know, I'm sitting to say I'm hoping that Ava gets a little bit angry about Nina as far as her keeping the truth about Sonny. But then when you sit there and think about it, Ava doesn't really have a lot of friends in town, and neither does Nina. So I guess for the sake of the plot, just to have people like, you know, have those two, you know, have those two people talk to each other and kind of, you know, be each other's friends or whatever. Just for plot's sake, I feel like she is just not going to be that angry with her because, again, they both don't really have a lot of friends, so yeah, I don't really see her getting upset about it. It's unfortunate because I think she should literally, I mean, like, give her, give her attitude, give her smoke or whatever, but, I mean, hell, she's still her friend after the fact that, I heard Nina, kidnapped Ava's child. So if she wasn't upset about that, then I doubt she's going to be upset about this. So, once again, another person that just lets Nina off the hook, because that makes sense in plotting. Scott and Britt. Scott pretty much tells Britt, yo, listen, we need to brainstorm about this whole thing as far as finding Liesel. Or, here's an idea. I know it's crazy, but why don't we call Jason to help you look for, help us look for Ulbrich. And once again, Britt, gives a hard pass on that. Which, again, this is more about her pride than anything else. And that's what Scott was saying, I guess indirectly calling her pathetic or whatever for crawling up to Jason and asking for help because, quote unquote, he owes her. But, honestly, tell you the truth, I'm like, yo, this is even a pride thing. This is literally your mother that, could die. And that's when Scott was like, yo, listen, so you can have your pride. I mean, Ulbrich may never be found, but you got your pride, so, I guess that's what's important, right? He does walk up to Britt and sort of apologizes. And, Britt begrudgingly is all like, oh, well, I won't make any promises, but I'll think about asking. Let me get this straight. You're telling me you're going to think about asking someone for help to find your mother that you know is in danger by Peter? You would think that she's so worried because she's, she was sent there calling Anna, demanding answers, demanding, to speak to her and everything like that because she's worried about her mother. But yet, the one man that may have a chance as far as finding Ulbrich and taking out Peter, you're just like, nope, I can't do it. But again, I guess this is where we get the plot over common sense. So, yep. And so yeah, eventually Ava does come to Carly. And at first they talk about Spencer, then they talk about Ava's custody, which was like, why would she agree to anything unless Sonny was there? I felt like that whole conversation was just pointless. What are you going to do? You just going to work out some sort of underhanded deal while he's not there, and you honestly think that he's going to be okay with that? So, Carly was like, yo, listen, no, wait till he gets here. And then, Carly gets upset because she's sitting there thinking that, Ava knew what Nina was up to as far as Nina hiding Sonny. And Ava was like, nope, I didn't know anything. But then, yeah, eventually she does go to Crimson. And, even though Nina's like, hey, I'm kind of busy right now, Ava's like, no, we need to talk now. Like right now. Like, you need to hang up the damn phone. And we need to have a convo. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, what else am I missing? And that's pretty much just the Austin and Jason scene. Which I gotta sit there and say, even though Jason is among my favorite characters, I kind of felt like that was like the least favorite scene of mine. What he really did was Austin was sitting there trying to manipulate Jason, trying to pry for information, and Jason wasn't really having it. They didn't really do too much of anything. They talked. Austin was still set firm on, filing that lawsuit so he can get his shares. This way he can get some sort of acknowledgement from his father. Even though Jason was like, you had a promising career where you were, and you came all the way out here to fight with people that don't want you around. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. But, yeah. Didn't really go anywhere. Somewhat, I wouldn't say boring, but it just, I don't remember anything memorable coming out of that conversation, to be honest. I feel like that's about it. If I missed anything, please write it down in the comment section below. With that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank everyone for watching. Be safe. I will see you in the next video.